So our next speakers are Roland Flemm and Alexey Krivitsky. Alexey being both a developer and a front-runner agilist. He played an important role in initiating the Agile Ukraine community. He's the author of one of the most popular Scrum educational simulation games, Lego for Scrum, and a book on retrospective, Quick Start in Agile Retrospective. Roland was a developer and infrastructure specialist for 20 years, and since 2015 he grew into international Agile consultant with a focus on large-scale Scrum adaptations. He's the creator of the Cost Coach Agile comic series, as well as elements of Scrum cards. So, with the topic of organizational topologies, improving transformation results with adaptivity that fits, welcome to the stage, Alexey and Roland.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Добрый день.
Good morning. Good afternoon already. It's 12:15.
Yeah, it's not the morning anymore.
Yeah. Hope you're enjoying this conference, at least we are. We heard a lot of good talks yesterday, good inspiration, good vibes. So we created a new slide deck this morning to be able to match the bar that was raised yesterday. All right, so we're going to talk about org topologies tonight.
How is the voice? Can you hear us? How is the sound?
Yeah?
All good?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Let's first introduce ourselves.
Sure.
Shortly.
That's us. Beards and beers. And who are we? You go.
Okay, well, hi, I'm Roland. I'm from the Netherlands. I live in Utrecht. And I like to work in organizations to try to make them better, to make people happier. That's what I do. And I teach.
You teach. And what do you teach?
Scrum.
Why?
I think it's good. It makes sense.
Okay. So I do the same, and we call ourselves org consultants. And we've been in this field for some years, and we've noticed something which you will recognize when we show the next slide. The frameworks everywhere. There have been not so many talks about frameworks yesterday, at least on this stage, which was good, we think. But if you look outside of this building, if you talk to your colleagues, if you see what's happening in your company, people talk a lot about frameworks. Are they not? They do. And we're not against frameworks. We believe frameworks can help you to get what you want, as long as you know what you want, right? But because there are so many of them, and they are so brightful and colorful, and they're trying to hug you and grab your attention, sometimes you might forget about the goal just by looking at that bright, nice picture image of a framework.
So I'm interested in, everybody's in some kind of framework, probably, working in some kind of framework. But maybe you've just left one framework behind and you're moving towards the next, so it would be good to understand a little bit where the people are right now. Where are you in your Agile transformation? Please raise your hand if you're about to start a new transformation. Anybody?
Anybody is about to start Agile transformation?
Someone is about to start.
Are you starting?
Cool.
Or are you faking? You're starting.
Right.
Or your clients might be starting, right?
Who's in the middle of it?
Who's in the middle? The majority look around.
Okay,
it's
good.
Almost everybody's in the middle. Is anybody done?
Happy few? Finished?
Anybody
You're
done?
finished,
Are you done?
finished.
Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Are you joking with us? So, you know, I mean, you can be done implementing, rolling out a framework, probably. But you cannot be done with a transformation. It should be an ongoing thing.
Well, we have a transformation backlog, and it contained, 250 tasks or user stories. We ticked them all off, so
Yes.
we're done.
Are we done? Yeah.
We're done.
The project of change has been successfully accomplished.
All right, so there's a lot of frameworks. It's difficult to choose. We're always busy implementing frameworks, and as we could see yesterday, you know, those transformations are, well, they were the talk of the day yesterday, is what I've got. What about you, Alexey?
Yes, yesterday I've heard a lot of great talks. I was here for the entire day, just sitting somewhere here and listening for the talks of my colleagues. And there have been lots of consensus, seems, on the stage yesterday about the how the things are. And there were lots of people saying that, well, I like this slide a lot. You do not buy a transformation, you swear it.
It's like hard
It's a
work.
good one, right? I mean, that's true. You cannot just go and buy it. You really need to own it. Because if you own it, not rent it, you'll be able to improve it and live it.
Yeah, and I like the middle one here especially. It's anything but a straight path from A to B. You know, that's, you're trying to get somewhere and probably you'll deviate and then you'll find out, oh, we need to change our plans. And that, I mean, that sounds good if that's what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
In summary,
That's
right?
it, right? I mean, there is, I guess, a strong consensus on the stage in this community that it's a never-ending journey, but never-ending journey to where? How do you not get lost with this brightful, nicely painted
but that's easy.
frameworks?
It's a never-ending journey, or what maybe, well, if it's not finishing the change backlog or the transformation backlog, then we need something else to move towards to.
Yeah.
Correct? What would that be?
We believe it's some kind of a vision, understanding, agreement on where you're going, right? We call it perfection. You can call it anything, but it's something that is really far from here, maybe even unattainable. Unattainable.
Yeah.
You cannot get it.
You just asked me, why do you like teaching Scrum?
Why are you teaching Scrum?
You just asked me, you asked
Yes,
me
I
again.
know.
I will tell you, because you want to know. Scrum is a perfection goal. You will never reach perfect Scrum, okay? So you will try and try and try, and there's always something going wrong, and it will tell you what it is you need to improve to become perfect. It's continuous improvement effort. So we think for a transformation of a whole company, not just one team trying to get better, we should also strive for organizational perfection.
Yes. And we've been developing a thinking tool with our clients, for our clients, and because it worked, we now are presenting it here to you. We are trying to give some tools, some guidance, some instruments, if you will, for leaders of the company and for the employees to have meaningful discussions on what is that perfection goal and how actually do we go about it. So we will be giving you some specific concrete ideas on how to progress towards that perfection that you have dreamed for yourselves.
Yeah. So we need that perfection goal, we think, to make a transformation have sense. Yeah.
Just to remind that
Yeah.
a framework cannot be your perfection goal because
All right.
it
So
should not be.
we're consultants and we come into organizations and then we, in our goodie bag, we have all these tools to do transformations.
Right.
Right? But we're talking to leaders. We're talking to somebody, you know, with a red profile and they want something and they have goals and they want to achieve stuff.
And yesterday somebody mentioned that the leaders want money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Christophe Martineau himself.
Yes.
Where is he?
Yes. And we believe it is true. We don't believe leaders want agile. They definitely don't want agile transformation. They want money, but to abstract a bit of money, which sounds a little bit too vague. We believe they want
Results.
results, right?
That's right.
And not just now, but also in long term.
Because it could be money, but it could also be maybe social benefit or some other aspirational goal that we have. But they need to see results with their company. They need it now, right? If I talk to a CEO or a big leader or responsible for an organization, we want results now. They don't want to wait like years and years and years, or do they? Well, both.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is why. Okay? We need to deliver value. Maybe we're going to do a transformation, fine, right? Maybe I need to change my organization, but it got me where I am now, so I think I'm pretty successful. And if we are going to change for some kind of reason, then the shop will be open. I will still need to make money now, okay? So there's this urgent need of continuation of what we're doing, being able to pay salaries for people to live in homes.
Yeah, you can call it business resilience if you want, right? To be able to be delivering value now, and also if value changes, if the definition of value changes, if the market changes, you should be able to find new definition of value and be able to go for it, to stay relevant in the business, right?
Yeah. So it's a long-term thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Both short-term and long-term.
Short-term and long-term.
All right. So let's dive a little bit deeper still in that perfection thing that we're striving for.
We'll just let you read this slide.
Right?
Wouldn't that be cool to have that as a perfection vision?
I'm in the shower, I've got this great idea, and I'm just going to walk into my office, I'm the boss, and I'm going to say, guys, from now on we're going to work on this idea. And everybody says, yay, and they start doing it, and within a month, they deliver what I wanted. And it didn't cost me anything extra. That's a cool organization. I want to work there.
Yes. And this can have different names, right?
Oh.
You can call it agile,
Maybe.
agility, business agility. Adaptivity might be a better word. Actually, if you know the history of the Agile Manifesto, the guys who have been trying to come up with that manifesto that is currently known as an Agile Manifesto, the first idea was to call this lightweight method, but lightweight, it's not a good name. But the second good name was adaptive. And you cannot do adaptive. You can just be adaptive, yes? But they didn't agree on adaptive because actually one guy's company was called Adaptive, and they didn't want to promote his company, so they tried to find some other term, and they came up with Agile. But we believe adaptivity, adaptability, adaptiveness, these are better things that have been always on the minds of people trying to increase that business agility. Resilience might be a new buzzword, but it doesn't matter how you call it, it's important which meaning you put into these words.
Yeah, I like the idea of introducing a new term because agile has already a lot of meanings for everybody and the connotation is not always very positive. So it might make sense to try to be careful with your vocabulary when you're talking to people, to try to get them into a mode of, doing some kind of change.
Yeah. So going back to our definition that we showed you before.
We're kind of done with perfection.
Yes.
All right.
It's a journey, it's a never-ending journey towards perfection. We've just discussed with you perfection or ideas per perfection. I guess in your company you should have a conversation, what is our perfection state? Let's look at the journey. Now that you've defined the perfection, now that you know what you want to get when you grow up, right?
All right.
What is the journey?
So I'm going into my car. My family's there. We packed, and we know that we're going on a journey. We know we're going to the Costa Brava or whatever. What do I need to get there? First thing I do, turn on Google Maps, right? We need a map.
We believe journey needs a map. You need a map not to get lost on a journey, and that map should not be just a framework to implement. It should be something. It might have ideas and methods and frameworks just as steps towards that goal, but you should be able to see the entire journey on the map. So we were trying to use this idea of maps, right? What would you map for an agile transformational journey? Any ideas? What would you put on a map? Cultures?
Well, that makes sense.
That would be cool, right? If you have different cultures which you can change and go from one to another. And
is this a command and control culture? What do I do to get into an agile culture?
Yes.
And what if we would map them? That kind of makes sense. But then what would it lead? Is it would bring us to thinking or rethinking cultural programs. How are we going to get the people to move with their mindsets from A to B?
And there was a strong consensus here yesterday again that agile transformation is a cultural change. You need to change culture. There was a talk that leaders need to meditate more, need to fight with the egos, right? So it's about deep cultural changes and also the organizational cultural changes.
So if you're looking
but how you change the culture?
How do you change culture? Which is a difficult thing. Before you know it, culture reverts back to what it was before because it's a very deeply ingrained behavior element. So
As
we're
it was said yesterday, culture is a shadow of a structure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the statement. So culture follows structure in established organizations.
Yes.
In a startup, a CEO, a founder can influence culture by being who he is. But in a larger, older organization where most of you and us spend our days in, there are some structures which already create cultures.
All right, just a small example.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with organizational transformations, but I noticed in your country, here in Serbia, you still use a lot of cash. I'm from Holland, we don't use cash. Everything is with...
I have cash in my pocket just in case I need to have a taxi or something, right?
So, you know, let's imagine that you're Minister of Internal Affairs and you want to get rid of people not doing things according to tax law, right? They just pay people and don't, or get paid and they don't say it to the taxes, they just put the money in the bank, you know, they spend it. And you want to get rid of that. Well, then one way of doing that is changing the structure. Get rid of the cash in the organization, in the country, and then people will have to pay with plastic, and that's all traceable. And then they will adapt, although they want or not, they will adapt their behavior to that new structure. Okay, so structure needs to be changed, and then culture will follow.
Yes. So we have map with structures that we know for sure from our experience they have impact on the cultures.
All right.
And we call them archetypes. So we spent about 15 minutes trying to get to this point where you are ready to learn what those archetypes are, and we have discovered 7 archetypes, and we're gonna show you 4 or 5 today. The key archetypical organizations where you all be able to recognize. And having them on the map, you can come to your leader and say, do you want it to be like this, or like this, or like this?
Let's
Let's
just have a look.
go to the archetypes.
Let's have a look. We'll shut up.
This is Ecom. Ecom is an e-commerce company that sells electronics and other home products online. They have a website and many other IT applications to support their business processes. Until now, Ecom has never seen software development as their core business. That's why they have never prioritized investing in their software development systems. They do things the old-fashioned way. The business is separated from IT, and IT developers are grouped in departments, which are siloed functional groups. When there is a need to get something changed on the website or in one of the software systems, a project is launched. And how do they do it? Well, a project manager is assigned to collect requirements, break them down into subsystems, analyze the skills required for the project, and then claim resources. Yes, that's how they tend to call people with certain skills. Resources. These resources will be given a predefined set of tasks to contribute to the project. The project managers are responsible for coordinating the timelines, possible changes in requirements, dependencies, and the integrations of the tasks into a working feature. There's not just 1 or 2 projects going on at the same time. In fact, there are too many projects, and every one of them potentially affects the others. That's because they rely on the same pool of resources. People.
You all probably recognize this archetype. It's not a very advanced archetype to go into a lot of details of, but for some companies, it's a starting point of a journey, right? They do projects and they are still discovering this idea of product thinking, teams, but they're not there yet. So we call this a projects archetype to refer to it.
And their optimization goal, why do they have projects, is to make sure that the resources are being, fully used.
That's why this company exists. It cannot measure yet important things like customer impact, but what they can measure is what there is, and that there are people, and they measure how busy those people are, thinking that making people busy creates results.
People know this. You know these archetypes, right? You've seen it before. You worked in these project organizations. All right.
Interestingly, this is a very sticky archetype. So if you work in a company like that, it might take you years before you progress somewhere. Not because you don't know there is Agile and not because you cannot go to an Agile conference. It's because you're just busy all the time and everybody's busy, don't have time to stop, think, and reorganize themselves. So actually, all archetypes we're going to show you, they're kind of sticky. An organization can spend years being like that until it uncovers another state of affairs.
Let's look at another archetype.
Sure.
Right?
At a certain point in time, the organization was experiencing market pressure to build a mobile app. Building a mobile app was new to Ecom. They had no experience and no mobile app development resources. So the usual method of upfront analysis and then puzzling together the required skills did not work. They also wanted to try that Agile and Scrum stuff, but never had the guts to do it. So now this seemed a perfect opportunity to try something new. They decided to form a dedicated team to work on the mobile app, the mobile team. And it worked. The mobile team was immediately able to demonstrate independence and high development speed. Everybody was impressed. But as time passed, blocking technical dependencies emerged, and the initial speed got lost. This was because the app needed some deep changes in the legacy core software systems, and the mobile team was missing the right skills and permissions to make those changes. The project managers no longer needed to manage resources for the mobile project, but instead they had to deal with the dependencies that were blocking the mobile team. Still, despite the additional problems the mobile team was causing, the mobile app was a big success. It was created faster, with more focus on user features, thus delivering the outcomes as business expected. The old organization was still there, doing the core work using the project approach, but it was slowly transforming towards dedicated teams. Over time, more teams were created, such as the product catalog team, the payments team, and so forth.
This is a more advanced archetype in terms of journey on the agility. Anybody recognizes his or her company, this stage?
We had a mobile team.
You are creating your agile teams, right? And this is a state where a lot of companies are these days.
But also these type of archetypes, they have an optimization goal. And you might be surprised, but if you think a bit deep, you'll find out that actually this is a very safe kind of way. I don't mean safe as the framework, but a very, it's a safe kind of way to start implementing something new because it's separate from the existing organization, so you can still keep the shop open. But it optimizes for quick wins. We can quickly push out this mobile app, separate from the rest of the organization, but it's also conflict avoidant because you're not changing anything. You're just adding something on top of the existing things. Yeah.
But as a step on a journey, it's a good progress if you compare to the previous one, right? So we're not criticizing anything of that. So we are putting these archetypes and we are discovering with you a map of those archetypes, which we called org topologies. If you go to the orgtopologies.com website and download the map, you will see a lot of boxes. And we're going to discuss still with you with 37 minutes more archetypes. What's important, it's not only the boxes, but the lines in between.
Something needs to happen if you want to really change your project organization and become an agile organization. Something happened. Although it was conflict avoiding, they did something they didn't do before, right? They created multidisciplinary teams that stuck together instead of individuals working in a department ticking off tasks.
And this is a big cultural change, don't you agree?
Yeah, it is.
So as we are discovering this new and new, more and more advanced, in terms of adaptivity, I guess, archetypes, we are seeing that there is some kind of a direction or a vector. And we couldn't find any longer name, so we picked this one. It is an axis which we call fluency at delivering a single customer value item.
So this is focusing on delivery, and the CEO will like that, right? Because we're fast. It's about delivery. It's about the ability to deliver. Cool.
Yeah, so in short words, this is how good an individual team is at doing the work that it is given. It might be given a task to do in a component. It might be given a feature to build. It might be given a customer journey to improve. That's why we are staying here with a very neutral definition of a customer value item. But
Shall we move on?
let's move on.
Yeah? Let's take another archetype.
I'm agree.
Okay.
What do you think would be the next archetype if you progress along this axis? And now we would like to hear some ideas from the
Oh, the
audience.
banker, he knows.
Banker? Banker, tell us all the answers.
So, it's totally different from this.
He's still here. Was that?
I have nothing special
Anybody else? We're not gonna play that game with you. You had enough of that yesterday.
So if I would be in this situation, sorry to take over, I would try to get rid of those red things. Removing dependencies with the old organization would make me go faster, right? They would be better at delivering.
Yeah,
those
if
things.
you add those missing skills to teams.
What are you went like, that's what he said? No?
Really cannot, you have that many dependencies, and I'm in that BS right now, so you cannot remove them. You need to find a way to deal with them.
So what she was saying is that she's in similar BS, you said? BS, right? Was a business stability, right? Yes, and the color is brown, right? Sure, and it's hard to break down that old organization to give those skills to the teams.
Yeah.
We know that's why it's also a very sticky, not stinking, also stinking, but sticky archetype where companies can stay for quite some time, and there's no one answer how you can progress.
She is demonstrating that it requires a paradigm shift to move into this next box, to be able to do something with these dependencies, instead of just managing them better, right? Adding coordination. No, let's try to get rid of them. That
And
really requires
interestingly, there are frameworks, at least one I know, which you all know, which can help you to manage those dependencies. Visualize them, put them on strings, all that kind of stuff. It helps, but it doesn't remove the underlying problem. You just probably stay longer in that archetype because you now know how to manage dependencies professionally.
Let's just a thought experiment. Let's imagine it's possible that we can get rid of those dependencies, all right? Let's see what happens.
Ecom was very successful with their approach of dedicated teams. They were growing by creating more and more teams and removing dependencies from the old organization. The new organization now had dozens of teams. Each team was focusing on its own customer feature. In Scrum terms, each team had its own backlog, product owner, and its own Scrum.
And they were able to deliver from idea right up to product in the hand of the customer, right?
Anybody of you is at this stage of, that's a pretty cool place to be, right?
Excellent.
Your teams are independent, fast. Please go.
What happens in many organizations is that maybe you see some teams who can do that and then other teams cannot. But that's a good sign. It means at least that the notion that this is a good thing starts to emerge in your organization, okay? So it's vital. It's not always every team delivers done, okay?
You can say those teams are autonomous. They don't have blocking dependencies. To a Spotify expert, is that somewhat representing Spotify optimizing goal? He approves. So the optimizing goal of a Spotify model, if you will, one of them, which I know from the papers, are to create autonomous teams. And these teams are autonomous.
Yeah.
Which has...
They're green.
They're
Excellent.
green. They're green.
So this is the Spotify remark that we get. I don't know too much about Spotify, but what I think I learned why their model was so successful within Spotify is because if you look at the elements that were on the UI, that was separate infrastructures and teams that were able to deliver done in parts of the system, and that's why they were able to, you're going like this, so maybe not true. Let's not go there. All right. We would call these real teams. This is what you want. Right.
Also referring to Richard Hackman, which has been also referenced yesterday in his book, Leading Teams, and his researchers. So these teams are real teams. They are stable, long-lived, they're self-contained, and they can also not just do the work that is given to them, which is good. If you give some work that such team have never done before, they can learn how to do that work. So they are learning teams. And I think it's a very important aspect, because now you can have those teams stay as long as you want and give them work, and they will be learning and being better.
Yeah, so I think there's another concept I want to throw into this, is that we are always talking about what kind of specialization is going on in the team. In the project organization, there was this simple, single skill that a person has, so it's very specialized deeply in one single skill. And here, there's still specialization in the teams, but they're specialized in maybe the purchase part or the shopping
maybe
basket.
there's a search team which knows the best how to improve search results on their website. Maybe another team building a catalog. So what they're optimizing for, they're optimizing for fast flow of features or flow of change or speed of change. There are different terms to that.
So what's the paradigm shift happened?
So the paradigm shift has happened, and it is about to create end-to-end teams, which can also learn, right? If you would be a Scrum Master in such an organization, I mean, this will be your mission, to make teams more autonomous, get to the full definition of done, if you're using this term, and you can use definition of done as a metric.
All right.
How good my teams are.
Let's have a look at the map.
Yeah, so we are done in 30 minutes, no?
Almost.
Almost done.
All right, so here we are. This is a demonstration of the map, and I also need to demonstrate my beautiful clicker that I have. Does it work? Oh, it doesn't work today. Look at that.
It worked before.
It fails. Oh, okay, let's continue.
Try again.
Maybe I should stand here. Does that work?
I can be your point. And now? Oh, wow.
Aha.
Magic happens.
So the horizontal axis, we came from individual single skill work. We needed a paradigm shift to move to stable teams. Now we have group work. You see the backlogs with the people in the team, gray bubbles with black dots. Dots are the people. And then the blue circle. Aha, that's our beautiful team that emerges with a beautiful backlog. And some dependencies, outside the gray areas with their lists of work. And look at this. This is ultimate perfection. The team can deliver everything, and there is no dependency anymore. Okay.
So imagine you have reached that beautiful state of autonomous, multidisciplinary teams that work with flow and then learn. Are you done? Is it the...
Are you asking me?
I'm asking, it's a rhetorical question, right? Are you done? Are you done? Is it the highest level of adaptivity which you can strive for?
Yeah. So it's a rhetorical question, so you answer?
What would you answer if this was not a rhetorical question? Is it the best dream for an agile transformation to create autonomous teams?
Probably not, no.
And probably yes, because I have a lot of clients who were really focused on improving their teams. Teams, and they would hire new skills to the teams, and they would hire Scrum Masters to make sure those teams really progress along the axis. And if you look into DevOps movement, team topologies, ideas, they speak a lot about teams. That's why it's called team topologies. Yeah. Yes? Yeah. And one key reason why I was building this map with my clients, and then we've developed it further with Roland, is that it's not enough to think just about the teams. There's something else you need to be thinking of.
All right. Let's have a look at ecom and see how they're doing.
So are we done? No, we're not done. We're not yet an adaptive
The teams were
implementation.
improving separately from each other, and they all had different goals. After a while, fences started to grow between the teams. But from the point of view of the developers, Scrum Masters and product owners, the change was very good for their team. Now they could actually deliver the features that were requested through their team backlogs. At a certain point in time, a stakeholder was charged to improve customer retention. He had lots of ideas for new requirements. For instance, when an existing customer would search the product catalog, he wanted to have the previous purchases to be displayed so that the customer could easily reorder. Unfortunately, there was no single team responsible for purchase history, product catalog, and customer data. He found out, actually, that these kind of requirements involved the majority of the teams. It cut through all team backlogs because of logical dependencies. Although ecom had become much faster and efficient in delivering features, they did not reach a high state of agile maturity yet, because the current state could not solve their new business challenges, like customer retention requirements. To address this, the most obvious option probably was to fall back to the proven approach of creating a customer retention project or program. Another option would be to solve the underlying root cause by reconsidering the organizational design and eliminate the newly discovered logical dependencies.
So what is the root cause of not being able to implement a requirement that is important to a stakeholder? Your guess?
So quiet.
Anybody? Complexity and where it's coming from. So from the teams, and what exactly creates that complexity at the team level? Dependencies. But in this level, teams are already autonomous. There are no blocking dependencies between teams. There's no more front-end team, back-end team. All teams can do back-end, front-end. So one backlog. Right. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, because if they have one backlog instead of separate, they could
Okay, so
address this requirement.
yeah, so the root cause is that each team has their own backlog, and for the customer journey to deliver, you need to have an overall backlog, like some portfolio wall or whatever, to align those teams to deliver the value at a higher level, right? Closer to the customer.
So you can say by going along this axis horizontally, you are removing some dependencies, but not some other dependencies.
Yes.
And we spent quite some time thinking how to call those dependencies. So we found some defined terminology that these horizontal dependencies are blocking asynchronous dependencies. So they block teams and they make one team wait for the other. So the work would be done asynchronously.
Yeah, and they're mostly in the technical domain, right?
These are technical engineering dependencies, if you will. But
Yeah.
if you remove them, there's still some other kind of dependencies. Because if there's a product team, a catalog team, a checkout team, they cannot implement a workflow throughout, so there are some kind of, we call them logical dependencies, but maybe there's some better term
But Alexey,
already.
it's impossible because the purchase module is so complex. Nobody understands it. It will take at least a year to get somebody onboarded and ready to be able to code in that part of the system.
Yes, and if you read and familiar with the team topologies, anybody is into team topologies?
Team topology.
If you're not, don't bother. If you are, we can have a discussion. The biggest argument why teams should have individual backlogs and own a very little piece of a product, because they say cognitive load of developers is your limit. So you cannot, as a developer, know search and a product catalog and a checkout, because there will be just too much code and your head would explode. At some point, it will. But what is this limit, and are you at the limit yet? Because if you go maximize this idea of minimizing cognitive load, why don't we give every developer one line of code to sit on forever?
Oh.
It's a nice idea. Very easy job. It's not gonna make a company resilient for quite some time, right? So.
Oh, sorry. Wait a minute. Oh, I made a mistake. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, finish what you were saying. Sorry, I made a mistake. You done?
I'm done.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Sure.
Ecom decided to address the root causes and rigorously reduce the dependencies between teams. To do this, they created a new organizational unit called the Customer Retention Area, containing all teams needed to deliver customer retention value. Our stakeholder was promoted to become the one and only customer retention product owner, managing a single customer retention product backlog for the complete customer journey. In fact, other areas were created in the same way to deliver value for other journeys, like customer acquisition, for example. All customer retention teams now work on a common shared goal. They pull work from their shared product backlog into their team sprint backlogs, delivering integrated customer value together, each sprint. This solution offers a high level of adaptivity. To change direction, all it takes is the PO to change the order of the items on his area product backlog.
Aha, now we're getting somewhere. This is starting to smell like some adaptive organizational design. We're adding the second axis, and as you already, were listening through how the horizontal axis was built up, we quickly go over the vertical axis. This is more like related to the value domain of the product, basically. And here we are at the bottom. There's the task scope, and then if we move up a little bit,
we have slides. We have slides for those things.
Sorry?
We have slides for.
Oh, okay. So we just skip. All right. So it's fluency learning the whole product,
which has its limits, of course.
Ah, here we go.
Yes.
Thank you. And now it is the ultimate thing you would want to have in your organization if you would continue on that path of aggregating all the changes that you want on your product to put them on one product backlog for the whole company, and all teams would work from that one product backlog.
Yes.
They would only have sprint backlogs in the teams. Then, wow, you can really change fast. Just change the order of the items on the backlog.
So as our professor from a bank just told us, it's about number of backlogs. It's something to do with the number of backlogs. It creates complexity. So we believe, it's our belief, and it also matches our observations, that the less backlogs you have, the more you consolidate on the value, the easier it is to change the direction of a company. Because if you have just one backlog for all 20 teams, and you need to adapt to a change on the market, what you need to do, you just need to reorder items on that backlog. How sweet will it be? Might not be ideal, right? Or might not be feasible. Maybe you cannot live with one backlog. Maybe you need 5 backlogs in a company. But in a very low case, when you are managing task level, then every developer has its own list, and of course, it's a very non-adaptive organization.
Now let's put the two axes together and see what the map looks like. This is what you get. So we gave each box a letter number combination. So it would be easier to talk about it if you would understand what the aspects are, the typical aspects, the properties of a B2 type organizational archetype. Then you can say to your peers, we're a B2. And actually what we would want for our goal is to move more towards C3,
Or higher, even further.
And then you can learn from the paradigm shifts what it is you need to do to move from one box to another.
So before you click this slide, just a quick test that we are conveying our message and you are still here, and please, you don't reply, we want everybody. The project organization, that was the first video. Where would you put it on the map? Ooh. Which box?
Anyone?
Why? What? Why 2? No, they manage projects and typically task level assignments, and it's about individual work in the worst case scenario.
Click.
Oh, it goes the other way around. I'm sorry.
The other way around.
I fucked it up, but the projects will go here, but real teams are there. It's the other order.
So what do? I click the other ones too?
You failed. We failed. We need an applause. All right.
Here we are.
That's how it goes. Okay, so projects are here, and we call this raw why. Because why are you doing this to your people? Why? Why are you doing this? You can be so much better not doing that. So why? Agile teams, A2. Real teams, A3. And see for a second. Now that you know that Agile teams are these teams which can do some stuff but still dependent on the others, and we call it A2. Now you can talk to your partner or a colleague and say, we are A2. And he understands what you mean by that. So we've realized this map creates some kind of a shared terminology we can use.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, next slide.
Value areas.
Value areas.
Where would you put this one?
All right.
They have
Value area.
minimized backlogs, and there's one backlog per area. For one stakeholder,
Someone says C.
be something.
Yeah, it should be on the B line because we don't have one backlog for the whole company yet, but we've got like a consolidated backlog for a whole group of teams.
One business concern.
Mortgages, business loans, everything we do for business loans is in one backlog.
B2, B3, depending how good the teams are.
Yes.
Right? So if your teams are autonomous, Spotify idea, you are in B3. They work together from one backlog, and there are methods how 5-10 teams can plan and pull work from one backlog with a like shared sprint planning, shared backlog refinement, and so on.
Typically, we would find this in this kind of setup of archetype. We would find optimization goals like, control, right? From a business point of view, we want to be better at delivering on this customer journey. Anybody
in this kind of organization, you have some kind of areas where multiple teams work together. You have it can be called as
excellent.
a
Another
tribe,
one, excellent.
Right? Yeah.
You're in a good position, guys. This is excellent. All right, but this B2 type, you have to be careful there, right? We have to be careful using the map to really verify if it is a real B2 or a real B3 kind of archetype.
Because I'm now using this map to work with my clients, and I teach this to Scrum Masters in my schools for Scrum Masters, and without too much explaining the map, everybody would say, oh, we are B2, B3-ish, because everybody wants to be there.
Let's give it a name. I come in a lot of places where they have SAFE, because it's the market leader, and if I talk them through the map, they go like, oh yeah, but we've got value areas, so we're a B2 kind of organization, right?
Yes.
That's what they think. But when you really go and dig down deeper,
the idea of having a single product backlog for multiple teams managed by one single product owner is a challenge for many organizations. In most cases, each Scrum team will have their own team-level product owner and a team-level product backlog. This creates conflicts of interest, drives local optimization, fragmented understanding of value, and causes sequential work, also known as waterfall. This makes it more difficult to deliver value at customer journey level. All of this brings layers of added overhead to manage the self-inflicted complexity. It brings a lot of additional coordination work for managers, and to address this, many choose to implement frameworks to make their lives a little safer. Well, all in all, this setup impacts the company's ability to change direction fast. Hence, it lowers adaptivity.
Yeah, so we don't say if you are in B2, maybe you are A1 or A2 and you're fooling yourself. We're not saying that. But I've seen many organizations who have survived a long expensive agile transformation with some well-known consulting companies. And in those slides of those consulting companies, you go for value areas, and it all looks good on the paper. Yeah. But then when you go and see how teams work after the transformation is done, you see that every team still has its own team backlog and its own team-level product owner, which is not the idea of a B role. In a B role, you have one backlog for multiple teams, no per team backlogs. It's important. So maybe you've been fooled.
Yeah, and in many cases that's the case. People think they are they have optimized, but in reality, just look at the number of backlogs and product owners and you will know. That's the message.
Yes.
All right. Cool.
Just let you read that.
We'll just let you look at this one too.
And it's a very sad place to work in these companies who were sad they're going for B2 or B3, but in fact, they still have backlog per team, which will be A2, A3. Why is it a sad place, Roland? Why are we crying?
Well, you still need those coordination layers. You still be managing dependencies and doing invaluable stuff. Invaluable
And they
work.
spend a lot of money and time on the Agile transformational project. Likely they don't have any more budget for any more coaches this year.
Let's go and have a look in the top corner there, right? The best place to be. It's not only adaptive to be able to deliver and, you know, an interesting concept, if you could get there, it's also very simple, isn't it? It's just a backlog and people working from that backlog. As an organizational design, there's not like many handoffs and people, you know, wondering what to do next. This is all very clear.
Yes.
All right, next.
We want to save some time for a little interaction in
Yeah, so we need, okay. This is called C3, has only one backlog for the whole company. Imagine one bank, one backlog with all the work. Probably that's difficult.
And it might not be feasible. You might say, no, we cannot do it.
But it's
But we
perfection.
believe the journey towards that, it's a pretty cool journey to be on.
Yeah. So this would be optimizing for the whole product. That's what we would be aiming at. That would be the optimization goal of such organization. Cool.
Yeah.
Again. All right, so here's the map. We gave each box also a little bit of descriptive backup, not just the number and letter combination. As said, you can download this map. We will update it frequently if we have new insights. Now the question is, where are you?
We would like you to spend a few minutes just turning to your colleagues, left or right, and have a little colleague discussion. Where am I? Where is my organization according to this map? The first question, and the next question, if you have time for that, where are we going?
Where do you think your organization
Or where do you
wants-
think
Yeah.
it is going?
Yeah.
Are we going this way, that way, that way, that way?
All right, let's stop talking. You do the talking. Have a talk with your person next to you. Where do you think your organization is, and where do you think you're going to? Go ahead.
Where are you on this map? Are we off? Oh, no. Let's flip sides. What are you doing?
It's three funny walks.
Like another minute of a discussion? Or thinking, also good. Stay there.
No, you switch sides.
It will not work.
I can click.
All right. It's energy. Energy going up.
You know that famous hand sign?
Roland has a question.
The famous hand sign for coaches, everybody
All right.
knows, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap this little
Imagine
discussion.
having this discussion in your organization.
Would it work?
No?
No.
Why not? Why not? You are -1. There's no -1. Fluency cannot be negative. Fluency can be 0. -1, no.
All right, well, we should talk about what the ingredients of that -1 are, because for us this is like the periodic table of Mendeleev. We might discover new elements that we didn't discover before, so we might, if you have a new discovery, we will add it to the map, right? So talk to us later.
So you can use this map to have discussions now in your company. Where are we? Where are we going? Maybe it helps you to create a roadmap for a change, if you will.
Yeah, but the map is just the starting point, because we can offer you more. We can offer you more to have good discussions about where you are and where you're heading for. And this is an example, right? If you look at the bottom layers, those archetypes are really output-driven, right?
Yesterday it was said many times, maximize output by maximize outcome by minimizing output.
So it might be a big disappointment if you find out that you thought that you were really gearing towards being very outcome-oriented and you're not. Okay? But that's good. It's all about transparency. You need to know where you are now to know how to navigate to your goal.
Right.
Or this.
You can work on tasks, on features, on customer journeys, or some broader concerns or business objectives. I think going up this map increases the level of abstractions in your backlog. You're not just gluing task-level backlogs going up. You're creating those backlogs at a higher level of abstraction, more about impact that work will be producing, right? It's all about impact.
Another one?
You can map some known frameworks, or try to do it. We've tried,
Let's try to map SAFe.
Where would you put SAFe?
Where would SAFe sit?
Implementations, not as a...
Why 0? No. They do better than that.
No, it's not individual, it's about teams, so not really. Task level, user story level, feature level.
Yeah, could be A1.
So we
maybe
figured there are different shades of SAFe, if you will.
Shades of SAFe, different shades of SAFe. I like that.
You can be safer and less safer. So it spreads from Y1 for very bad component teams with bad dependencies to maybe a pretty cool place of A3 if you have progressed along this journey.
Yeah.
So when you say we are doing SAFe, doesn't really mean anything, because at least there are 6 types or shades, if you will.
We think it's more valuable to talk about the archetypes and where you are with the paradigm shifts that you still need to cross to be able to really become more adaptive.
So if you're using SAFe to manage dependencies, likely you are here, you still have dependencies. If you use SAFe to discover dependencies and then you solve the root causes, and now you have teams without dependencies, that was a good journey, and thanks to SAFe.
Yeah.
So we're not blaming SAFe for anything, but you need to discuss which specific SAFe we would like to create or use for. Another example would be team topologies. I've mentioned this today.
Yeah. So we are suggesting that team topologies probably, and we put it on top of SAFe. And that's why also I think they sit here, but that's why maybe it combines so nicely, and SAFe is picked up so good on team topologies.
If you follow the advice from the book and you're really trying to maximize number of what they call stream-aligned teams, then you are around A3. But if you like the idea of how it's called, complicated subsystem teams, because you have a lot of complicated subsystems, you just create a team for every complicated subsystem without changing. You are somewhere like Y1. And why? Why are you doing this? So again, what else can we map in 1 minute that we have left?
Spotify. Let's give it a try. It's a bit higher, isn't it? Spotify should be a bit higher. You agree?
I don't know.
I think so. I think so. They have aggregated backlogs, must have.
And I think, and I'm not an expert like our friend here, but if you have, in our model, if you still have backlogs at the team level, that is error. If we're able to consolidate or find another way how teams can work together on a broader, because when I look at the Spotify picture that you showed yesterday, like every squad has its mission. To me, this creates this idea of they are thinking only about their concern, their backlog, their goal. And to me, this is like error. But if you have a mission for several teams together, and I'm not sure if you do this or not, or different companies do this, then you will be higher. So again, Spotify spans across different boxes, but that's why discussing are we doing Spotify or not doesn't make any sense. You really need to understand where you are and where you want to go. And maybe Spotify model helps.
Yeah, and then we had another one, which is we tried to position less. Now, less really promotes to have a single backlog for the whole organization, for one product. So
and less is not really a framework, but a journey towards.
A journey towards, yeah.
Right.
All right.
I think we're done.
Let's go to takeaways. To wrap it up.
We have takeaways.
What?
Yeah, sure. Let's just quickly go through.
Yeah, let's do the takeaways. So we still have 0 minutes, so that's good. Grab your cameras, we quickly go over it, I'll count, and then you can click. All right, implementing an agile framework cannot be a transformational goal. Well, it can, but it will not lead to a good.
All right, next one.
All right, next. All right, sorry. Organization needs to transform along 2 axes, both team and product. Next.
Next one.
You do this one.
No, you go.
You don't have to follow each box on the journey to perfection. You can jump levels, okay?
We're not implying you need to go one box to another. You can just plan your journey and flip from A2 to C3.
We should add one slide. Moving downward is probably not a good idea to become more adaptive.
You can jump levels, and you should jump levels if you can.
All right, next. Progressing on a map is hard as it requires paradigm shifts. We agree, transformation is hard. That's what all talks yesterday were about. All right, a paradigm shift requires structural changes. Remember that, because culture follows structure. There's no way around it. Last one?
Go for it. Go for it. Do we have time for questions still? Jana, or we're over our budget?
Jana.
No, wait.
You can ask us questions.
We will have time for one question. This is something that hopefully people are hungry, but have time for one more question. Before the question, just want to say maybe a new idea for the book, 50 Shades of Safe. The next one, Roland, great work with a clicker, really beautiful work. So, question. How can a single product owner keep an entire product backlog of a large software product in his mind?
Yeah.
What about cognitive complexity?
Yeah. Well, you know what happens? Let me start with this, Alexey, and you can drop in. A product owner role normally in organizations is like put way down, deep down in the organization. And it's like a team product owner pushing out requirements for the team. It's a requirements engineer or an analyst kind of role. So it would require the product owner to move up in the organization. The ultimate product owner for an organization is the CEO, him or herself. All right? That should be the product owner, owning the whole product. How is it possible? Well, you will have to move from clarification to prioritization. That product owner just puts ideas up, right? And then the people of the teams will elaborate on those and will refine them until they understand what to do.
And as example, I worked in a company which was able to jump from A2 to C3. And now I think you know what I mean by these 4 characters, from A2 to C3. They had a product owner per team and a backlog per team, and we flipped the company. It was 6 teams, so it's possible to flip in one go a company of that size, and we jumped to C3, and the CEO of the company became their product owner. And yes, of course, he was managing the entire backlog, and his head was kind of exploding. But then he learned that he doesn't need to know and understand all the requirements, all the details.
It's a paradigm shift.
It's a paradigm shift, and many if you need to go that step. So what he was doing,
Let go.
he didn't just let go, but he basically asked the teams to clarify the details with customers or subject matter experts. He was still a product owner, he was still responsible for the priorities. We are doing this, we are going to this market, we are doing this and this, but the details teams can figure out on their own. It's a macro management versus micro.
I see that one question. Are you saying SAFE's not agile? No, we're not saying that SAFE is agile, but you could be more.
We don't care.
Well, we don't care. Yeah, that's a better answer.
50 Shades of Safe.
We don't care.
Thank you very much, Roland. Thank you very much, Alexey.
Thank you.